Matthew chapter 9, beginning at verse 9. Listen then for the voice of God. As Jesus went from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," he told him, and Matthew got up and followed him. And while Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and the disciples and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" And on hearing this, Jesus said, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." The word of the Lord. So this is a little different. Let's see if this works. There's a preacher's parable that goes something like this. Timmy lived with his single mother and his big brother. And money was tight, the cupboards were bare, so they wore hand-me-downs, shared beds, and were on food stamps. Timmy had an after-school job sweeping up at the bodega, and he gave the money to his mom because with family, everybody does their part. Timothy loved Christmas. He loved the lights, the food, the music, the smells, the bells, and everyone dressed in their finest and acting their kindest. And for a season, Timmy felt like he was part of a big family and that everything was going to be okay. But his favorite part was the Living Nativity at church. They built a creche on the chancel. And the older kids got dressed up like shepherds, kings, and angels. A toddler played baby Jesus. There was straw and old barnwood. There was usually a dog dressed like a lamb and a pony with donkey ears. It was colorful, comical, and the glow of candles on Christmas Eve, if you squinted just a little, it almost seemed real. Before the service, people placed gifts around the manger. There were new clothes for poor kids, like Timmy. There were toys and elephants. It was a living nativity. There were toys and envelopes full of cash. And by the time the service began, it looked like a caravan of wise men had been there. Timmy knew that some of those gifts would be round their tiny tinseled tree on Christmas morning. But this year, he wanted to be part of the giving and not just the receiving. By the way, I wrote this. I didn't pull this out of a book. This year, he wanted to be part of the giving and not just the receiving. Except he didn't know what to give. And then on the eve before Christmas Eve, Timmy thought of his favorite toy, a little red Camaro. The roof was crumpled on one side, the paint was scratched, and one of the tires was out around. But he loved that car. He'd spend hours pushing it around the floor, squealing it around corners, and launching it off jumps. In the brittle world of growing up poor, Timmy found solace in the dream world of a toy car. And it wasn't much, but it might make some other little boy happy. It wasn't much, but it was what he could give. And so on Christmas Eve, after he combed his hair and pulled on his best trousers, Timmy put the car in his pocket and he went to church. He didn't tell his mom or his brother about the car. He felt a little embarrassed. And when they arrived, Timmy slipped in among the adults who were jostling down the center aisle with their packages and their presents. And when he got to the chancel, when no one was looking, Timmy shyly, slyly slid his car in among the gifts, and then quickly scurried back to sit with his mother and brother. And Timmy looked up at his gift, tucked in with all the treasures, and he felt a little pride. And just as the organ began playing, "O Come All Ye Faithful," and an usher stepped forward and organized the piles of presents, seeing a broken toy car, the usher muttered that I didn't know how this junk got in there, and he tossed it aside. And the car slid across the slate floor, and it came to rest at the foot of the chancel cross. Oh, yeah, we don't have one. And Timmy could see it, lying on its roof with one bad wheel spinning, and it looked like a wreck. But the choir was processing down the aisle, and the congregation was standing to sing, and the sanctuary was filling up with a joyful noise. And surely no one was going to notice a broken toy car. Except Timmy, who felt lonely, poor, discarded. He squeezed his eyes tight so the tears wouldn't slip out. Suddenly there was a commotion. Timmy could hear people whispering and murmuring and laughing, and the singing came to a stuttered, dissonant stop. Because baby Jesus had crawled out of the manger. Mary and pimply-faced Joseph were frozen, looking for somebody to tell them what to do. Jesus was crawling away from the creche, across the cold stone floor to the base of the cross. He had his eye on a red Camaro. And when he reached it, he squeezed it tight in his hand, he turned and crawled back to his manger bed. And in the stunned silence, people didn't know to sing or to cry or to laugh as baby Jesus happily held a broken toy car and climbed back into his cradle. Dear friends, like chicken soup, that preacher's parable warms the soul and offers moral encouragement. For as Jesus blessed the widow's mite, and Timmy gave his toy, so too the Lord is pleased by what you give. Amen. Or we could hear it this way. Life can break you down and beat you up. Life can toss you to the side, and it can seem like no one notices. I don't know what you're struggling with this morning, or where your heart feels broken. I don't know what darkness you're battling or what relationship feels like the wheels are coming off. But as near as I can figure, everybody is broken somehow. Everybody has crumpled roofs and scratched paint. Everybody has wheels that are out of round. Everybody knows some poverty. Everybody feels like a wreck sometime. Some of us feel like a wreck all the time. And yet our text reads that Jesus came for broken things. Jesus came for you and me and the Pharisees who stood outside of the party asking, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" Jesus came for disciples, delinquents, little boys, and ushers who mutter, "How did this junk get in here?" Jesus came for sinners. So, sin, I wrote this too. Sin is the language that the biblical tradition uses to describe the human condition. We are beautiful and broken, created in the image of God and smudged with selfishness. We are the embodied crown of God's will for creation. And we are home to a deep abyss of evil. We're good, gifted, and created for relationship. We're morally culpable imposters and alienated from one another. Sin is the language that the Gospels use to describe the human condition. But Jesus crawled across the floor of history to save sinners. Jesus entered into the human condition to take hold of us. One image of salvation is people gathered around a table, sharing a meal. In first century Palestine, eating together was a way of establishing, sustaining, and symbolizing community. Those who ate together shared values and the glue of belonging. If you ate together, you didn't feel so alone. You felt like you were part of a bigger family. So when Jesus was eating at the wrong table with the wrong crowd, the music came to a stuttered, dissonant stop. And the pimply-faced disciples didn't know what to say. There was enough of an awkward commotion, enough whispering and unease that Jesus lifted up his head from dinner and quoted the prophet Hosea. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. I desire hesed. Because what Jesus says here is, I desire hesed. Hesed is the Hebrew word translated here as mercy, but it means more than mercy. It has the sense of steadfast love, of things being made right, of a long-suffering loyalty. It is used to describe the quality of God's love. It is used for the quality of life expected of God's people. I desire hesed, love that doesn't quit, not sacrifice. So this summer, we're going to, together, when you're here, when you're in town, please come. We're going to bear witness to hesed through testimonies and learning new songs, through sermons and vacation Bible school. In our life together, we're going to encourage honest reflection on how Jesus came for broken things. What stories can we tell of Jesus crawling across the floor to grab hold of us? How can we learn and live into hesed? How can we be merciful? How can we bear witness to being tossed aside? And how can we bear witness to God's activity in our lives? That doesn't mean that all of our stories or songs are finished. That doesn't mean that we can only bear witness to happy endings. Sometimes all that we can do is long for a grand dinner party with room for all, and no one is excluded. This summer, we'll bear witness to those experiences, to that longing. Because, dear friends, do you smell what's cooking? Do you hear the singing? There's a Hesed dinner party, and y'all are invited. All you have to bring is your broken things. Jesus will bring the wine. Amen.
You can have my heart, though it isn't new. It's been used and broken and only comes in blue. It's been down a long road. It got dirty on the way. If I give it to you, will you make it clean and wash the shame away? You can have my heart. so beyond repair. Nothing I could do. I tried to fix it myself, but it was only worse when I got through. Then you walked right into my darkness, and you speak words so sweet, and you hold me like a child till my frozen tears fall at your feet. You can have my heart if you don't mind broken things. You can have my life if you don't mind these tears. Well, I heard you make old things new, so I give these pieces all to you. If you want it, you can have my heart. If you want it, you can have my heart.
Bearing witness, a word of testament. It's been a hard year so far. I had to say goodbye to Trinity Christian College, an institution I've been associated with since the 1990s. I'm still grieving having to leave the denomination I've been a part of my whole life. The country that I love has become a place that tears families apart and imprisons its own citizens without cause. And for me, the hardest to bear has been looking for a job at age 59 in a job market filled with other refugees from college closings. Many times this year I've questioned my value as a child of God and have struggled to see how God is working in all this. Again and again, I dreamed my way into new schools and positions, only to have those doors close and have those dreams extinguished. But I'm supposed to be talking about how God works in my life, and so far you might not be seeing it. Hang on, I'll get to that part. About once a month, Amy and I meet our daughter Catherine and son-in-law Willem. Sometimes we drive to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where they live. Sometimes they come to South Holland. Often we meet somewhere in the middle at a restaurant. Catherine tells us about her nannying job and how she cares for her little charges, takes them for walks and to the zoo, and teaches them to cook and make art and read. Or we hear about how Catherine and Will open their house to friends and guests and people traveling through. Or Will tells us about how often he calls my lifelong best friend John for house repairs advice. During those conversations, I sometimes have these moments where I smile really wide and sort of zone out. I'll tell you what I'm thinking about in those moments. But first, also about once a month, Amy and I drive to Minnesota to see our other daughter, Frances, and bring her some home-cooked meals. This past year has been her senior year as an honors student and social work major doing an internship where she meets with and cares for mental health clients every week. She lives with two of her best friends and is in a strong relationship with her boyfriend, a kind and thoughtful young man who cares deeply for her and she for him. A couple weeks ago, I was in Minneapolis for a job interview and was able to pick up Chipotle. and Frances and I had a picnic by Bethel University's lake. She talked thoughtfully about how stressful this semester had been, and how she knows that when she starts grad school, she's going to have to be intentional about balancing work with self-care. Once again, I smiled broadly and kind of zoned out a bit. In these moments, it isn't like I'm not listening to my children. It's that I'm having what they sometimes call one of my cancer survivor moments. My family has learned to recognize these moments and will wait bemused until I zone back in. Amy remembers the first time it happened. We were driving home after dropping Catherine off for college, and suddenly I straightened up and drew a deep intake of breath. She worried that I was having some sort of medical problem until I explained to her that I had just realized that for a long time, I didn't think I was going to be alive to see Catherine start college. More than a decade ago, when I was being treated for melanoma that had metastasized to my liver in the form of multiple tumors, I figured I might not be around that much longer, so I wrote letters to Amy and my daughters. I wrote letters for them to read when they would graduate from high school and college, and when they would settle down with someone, maybe get married, for when maybe they would have children of their own. All these were moments I figured I might miss. Those letters were really difficult to write, not because of the emotion alone, but because it was so difficult to imagine what it would be like at those points in their lives and to figure out what I would say to them without any context or details. What would they need to hear from me? Encouragement? Consolation? Wisdom? Or worse? What if they just needed a hug and I wasn't there? In my cancer survivor moments, I'm usually just grateful that I'm still alive for those moments that I wrote the letters about. And that realization takes my breath away. I'm realizing that these two little ones of ours have grown into strong, talented, beautiful women who make a difference in their communities, who make me laugh, and that I am alive to see them. So yeah, this year has been pretty horrible. I have questioned God. I've been angry at God. Lying awake at 3 in the morning, I have wondered if I could trust God. But my cancer survivor moments remind me that everything, absolutely everything in my life is a gift. Every moment, good and bad, every breath, especially anytime I see my children or hold Amy's hand, it's all grace. Living without a job lined up for the coming year was horrible. Living through Trinity's closing was horrible. But through the grace of God, I was living through it. And for that, I can be deeply thankful. Thanks.